Hi everyone, I'm Cailee Hanson with SVA Consulting, and in this video, I'm going to demonstrate Acumatica's AI Anomaly Detection tool, as well as just a practical use case for why companies might start to leverage this. So before we kind of dive in and get started, really the power of the anomaly detection tool is it kind of flips the switch between being reactive versus proactive. So more traditionally, we'll see a lot of companies, become more reactive. So in terms of flagging different financial anomalies, for example, we'll see that pop into play, in an auditing season. So as you're going through auditing, you're catching things kind of after the fact. I'm going to have to go and correct those, just make sure, everything is buttoned up, looks good. Again, more of a reactive approach, waiting until that time to kind of fix things versus being proactive. And really that's what the anomaly detection tool allows us to do, is it allows us to detect these different anomalies as they're coming in so that we can correct them, before, in this case, vendor payments go out. So I'll again be working through this in the use case of detecting anomalies across my accounts payable bills. And so a couple of different use cases here in terms of why we might want to detect these certain anomalies. One might be things like duplicate invoices. So we can have things set up in the system to start to detect duplicate invoices, but maybe there's just slight variation. So a slight typo in the invoice number, but pretty specific in terms of the same amount and the same vendor, for example. We can start to leverage this tool to detect certain anomalies like that. Same thing goes for unusual invoice amounts. So maybe you have invoices that are significantly higher or lower, than what you've done in the past with that particular vendor. So you could start to identify those again through this anomaly detection tool. It's going to identify those for you, and then you can react and respond accordingly as well. Another one might be, a vendor-related anomaly. So maybe you have new vendors that are immediately spending very high amounts. That might be something that we want the system to flag. Maybe you have dormant vendors that you haven't purchased from a while, and suddenly they're becoming active. So any of those types of things are some of the use cases why we might want to leverage an anomaly detection tool. And again, flag those to our attention so we can start to eliminate risk, eliminate any, potential fraudulent activity as well. Draw that to your attention and then allow you guys to make decisions accordingly after that. So I'll go ahead and dive right in. Here you can see that I've added my anomalies within a dashboard view. So I've already ran this process. This is something that we could have, run on a schedule. And then anytime you log in the morning, for example, as an AP clerk, I'm immediately seeing, anything that exists from an accounts payable standpoint that is potentially off, maybe some anomalies there. So I'll go ahead and drill down into this. You can see I have 64 anomalies, pretty high number. Hopefully you guys don't have that many, but this is where I could go ahead and see all of those details as to what's being flagged, what's the expected value based on the settings that I'm setting up as well. And then this could be the screen where I really go in and review, the details there and approve them if they look good or make changes if I need to as well. So in this case, you can see I have my 64 anomalies here. And then if I take a look at this anomaly severity, this is where I can see anything, that's more significant versus, more medium. So it's not as high of an anomaly versus, hey, this is a really big deal. We're going to flag that. And you can see that happening through some of that conditional formatting there. So in this case, kind of this third dark significant one below, I can see that this came from, an employee expense receipt. So they submitted a receipt or expense claim rather for their meals. So they're getting reimbursed on the meal side. You can see this was flagged as significant. That unit cost is a lot higher than it should be. So $25,000 there. And then in this expected value column, this is where I can see, what should that be, just given some of the historical expense claims, for example, for this meal item. So here I can see, expected value is at 205 for that unit cost. And that was at 25,000. But then I can also see just by looking at this that, hey, my total cost there was different than my unit cost. So most likely we had that employee, enter in that unit cost wrong. And it should in fact be that 253.76 that's going to match that extended cost. I could drill down into the details of that particular reference number, drill into that AP bill, which could then, drill me back into the expense side as well. But here I can see, okay, that's most likely what happened. We certainly want to fix that, so we could do so here. But I can start to see, what was flagged, why, and then go ahead and fix that as well. Different from if I go to, some of the next page here, this is where I can start to see anything that, anything else that was flagged. So here I can see, if I drill down here, same thing. We had a unit cost of $40, but it was anticipated to be 44. So you can see, okay, hey, that's different than what it should be. More traditionally, we're spending $44 on that item. In this case, we're spending 40. It's flagging that to my attention, perhaps based on that vendor and the history there. But it's not something that I overly need to address or fix rather, but instead that's consistent. Maybe we had a specific discount. If I drill down, I could view those details as well. But this page would also allow us to go ahead and review them. So on this line, I can see, hey, there's that expected of 44, there's the actual of 40, and now this looks good. This was intended. And I could go ahead and add a comment. So now anyone else who comes in could go ahead and view this and see, okay, Cailee had reviewed this. She said it looks good because there was a vendor discount here. And I could go in and add that. So again, the anomaly detection is going to bring those to our attention and then allow you guys to go ahead and review those. Immediately from this page, I can drill down, make changes to these AP bills if I have access to do so, or I can just review them, check that off, add a comment to say, hey, this is good. Here's the reason why as well. Just to show you a little bit of behind the scenes for this tool as well. If I go to this detect anomalies button, this is what process I ran in order to see all those anomalies on the previous page. So again, this is something that I could set on a schedule. I could have a frequency cadence for it as well. But if I wanted to, run these across my AP bill transactions, which I had just done, I could run this every day just by setting up this particular schedule. So then everything that came in the day before is going to get picked up from that and run those and pull them onto my dashboard so that I can go ahead and review. You can see some of the other examples I have in here as well. So purchase orders, for example, and again, in the Acumatica Anomaly Detection tool, you can expand this to any of these generic inquiries in the system. So really any type of transaction, if you want to detect anomalies against them, we could go ahead and add that in. And then we could, again, add that to the schedule as well. And lastly, just to drill down into this particular inquiry that I've added this on, here's my generic inquiry for those AP bills. And then I have this anomaly detection tab, which is essentially going in and setting some of the settings for what I want to detect anomalies against. So really this field for analysis is what we're starting to detect those against. So in my case, I had that set for unit cost. So as we have different anomalies and variations between, traditional unit costs versus, the actual ones, we can start to flag those. I could have this set to different fields as well, and that's just going to change, what we're flagging and what we're detecting these against. And then we can also have this frequency set up. So we saw the automation schedule on the previous screen because I had this set on demand. We could also set it here to say, hey, we want this to run daily, for example, or weekly or monthly, whatever that cadence may be. But again, have the ability to expand this across all areas of Acumatica through this generic inquiry tool and adding that anomaly detection. And then once we do, we'll have those results, and then we can go ahead, analyze, why was that an anomaly? What happened there? Did someone enter it in wrong? Is it true, a concern that we need to address? And how can we go ahead and address that further? So hopefully that gave you guys a bit of a practical example of this type of tool, showed some of the power behind it as well, and hope you guys enjoyed.